You see, there's something happening right now, in this very moment, that most people have not noticed yet. A quiet shift in consciousness, a fundamental change in how certain people are beginning to relate to the one thing that has terrified humanity for thousands of years: death. The fear of it, the obsession with avoiding it, the entire structure of anxiety that has built up around it. It is fading, vanishing, not because people are becoming reckless or suicidal, but because something inside them has fundamentally changed. And if you have felt this shift yourself, if you have noticed that death no longer grips you the way it once did, if you find yourself strangely calm when you think about your own mortality, then what I am about to tell you may bring you great relief. This is not denial. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is not some morbid fascination with darkness. No, this is something else entirely. This is what Alan Watts called awakening to your true nature. And once you truly understand what you are, death becomes impossible. Seriously, let me explain what I mean by this. I am not talking about simply accepting death intellectually. I am not talking about reading some philosophy books and deciding to be brave about mortality. I am not talking about repeating affirmations or convincing yourself that everything will be okay. I am talking about that moment when you suddenly see through the illusion of who you thought you were. When the entire identity you have been carrying around your whole life reveals itself to be nothing more than a story. A collection of memories, thoughts and beliefs that you mistook for your actual self. Alan Watts described it like this: imagine you are watching a movie. You are so absorbed in the story, so identified with the main character, that you forget you are sitting in a theater. You forget that you are the one watching. The character on screen feels real to you. Their problems become your problems. Their fears become your fears. And when something threatens that character, you feel genuine terror. But then suddenly the film breaks. The lights come on. And you remember, oh, I am not the character. I am the one watching. I am the awareness in which this entire story is appearing. This is what spiritual awakening actually is. It is the moment when you realize you are not the person in the story. You are the awareness experiencing the story. And here is what changes everything. The person in the story was born and will die. But awareness itself? Awareness has no beginning and no ending. It simply is. It has always been. It will always be. When you are deeply identified with the character, with the person you think you are, death is absolutely terrifying, because it means the end of you, the end of everything you know, the end of your entire world. But the moment you wake up to what you actually are, everything changes. You realize that what you truly are cannot die, because it was never born. You see, the fear of death is not actually the fear of non-existence. It is the fear of losing this sense of being a separate individual self, this precious identity that you have spent your entire life building and defending. Society operates on a kind of agreement, an agreement that we are all separate people, isolated individuals moving through time from birth to death, and we pretend this is the absolute truth. We build our entire civilization on this premise. Our laws, our relationships, our economy, everything assumes that you are you and I am I, and we are fundamentally separate from each other and from the universe itself. When you are asleep to your true nature, this is no problem. You simply go along with the game. You play your role. You defend your identity. You fear your death. But the moment you wake up, you cannot participate in this collective dream anymore. When someone awakens to their true nature, they begin to see something that cannot be unseen. They can see that the self they have been defending all these years is not real. They can see that every fear they have ever had was based on protecting something that does not actually exist. They can see that death is only terrifying to an idea, to a concept, to a mental construct that calls itself me. They can see that what they truly are has been here all along, watching every moment of their life unfold, completely untouched by any of it. They can see that birth did not create them, and death will not destroy them. They can see that they are the space in which birth and death appear, the awareness in which the entire movie of life plays out. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to believing you are just a body that was born and will die. You cannot return to that small, frightened sense of self that lives in constant anxiety about its own ending. The knowledge has penetrated too deeply. You have remembered what you actually are. And this creates a profound shift in how you move through the world. Every conversation about death suddenly sounds strange to you. People talk about it with such dread, such heaviness, such absolute certainty that it is the worst thing that can happen. And you want to tell them, you want to say, but you are not what you think you are. You are not this temporary person. You are the eternal awareness in which this person appears. But you cannot say this, because they are not ready to hear it, because they are still deeply asleep in the dream of separation. So you remain quiet. You listen to them express their fears, you nod with compassion. But inside, you know something they do not know yet. You know that what they are afraid of losing is not real. The self they are trying to preserve is just a thought. A very convincing thought, yes. A thought that has been reinforced every single day since childhood. But still, just a thought. And you cannot participate in the fear anymore. You cannot pretend that death is the enemy. You cannot join in the collective anxiety about mortality, because you have seen through it. Every time someone talks about extending their life, about fighting aging, about doing everything possible to avoid death, you see the desperation behind it, the desperate attempt to make the unreal self permanent, to give solidity to something that was always just a passing wave in the ocean of consciousness. And eventually, your soul says enough. Enough pretending, enough playing along with the fear, enough acting as if you do not know what you know. The dissonance becomes too great. Staying in conversations about death, nodding along with the terror, requires you to betray your own direct experience. It requires you to abandon the truth you have discovered, and you simply cannot do it anymore. Now, I want to be very clear about something. This is not recklessness. This is not some kind of death wish. This is not a person who has given up on life and stopped caring about their existence. No, this is something else entirely. This is actually a much deeper appreciation for life. Because when you are no longer afraid of death, you are finally free to actually live. You see, most people are not truly alive. They are spending their entire existence trying to avoid their ending. Every decision filtered through the question, will this keep me safe? Will this extend my time? Will this protect me from the inevitable? And in doing so, they miss the actual gift of being here. They miss the present moment because they are so busy trying to secure the future. But the awakened person has realized something profound. They have realized that life and death are not opposites. They are two sides of the same movement. You cannot have one without the other. They arise together. They are inseparable. It is like trying to have a wave without the ocean. The wave appears, it crests, it falls back into the water. But was the wave ever separate from the ocean? Was it ever truly born? Does it truly die? Or is it simply the ocean expressing itself in temporary form? This is what you are. You are the ocean, playing at being a wave. And when the wave crashes, the ocean does not die. It simply continues, forever, without beginning, without end. So the fear dissolves, not because you have become numb or detached, but because you have realized there is nothing to fear. The you that you thought could die never existed in the first place. So you make a choice, not a dramatic choice, not a choice announced to the world, but a quiet, internal choice. You choose to stop pretending. You choose to stop participating in the collective fear of death. You choose to live from this new understanding. And this is when the transformation begins. First, you stop consuming fear-based content about mortality. You stop reading articles about the latest health crisis that might kill you. You stop watching news segments about how to extend your lifespan. You stop participating in conversations where people compete over who is doing more to avoid aging, not because you think these things are wrong, but because they are based on a premise you no longer believe in. The premise that you are a separate self that needs to be protected from annihilation. And you realize that engaging with this content only reinforces the illusion. It only strengthens the false identity. So you quietly step away. Then you stop making decisions from fear. You notice how many of your choices have been driven by the unconscious terror of death. The job you took because it offered security, the relationship you stayed in because you were afraid of being alone, the experiences you avoided because they felt too risky. And you begin to make different choices. Not reckless choices, but choices that come from presence, from aliveness, from the deep knowing that you are not protecting anything real. You start to live as if you are already dead, which sounds morbid until you understand what it actually means. It means you live without the constant background anxiety of trying to preserve yourself, without the endless negotiation with life, trying to get more time, more safety, more guarantees. You simply show up, fully, completely, in each moment, because there is nothing to lose. Then you notice a change in your relationships. People who are still terrified of death find your presence unsettling. They cannot understand why you are so calm, why you do not share their panic, why you do not participate in their attempts to control and manage and extend. And some of them pull away, not with anger or drama, just a quiet drifting, because your energy no longer matches theirs. You are vibrating at a different frequency now, and that is okay. You let them go with love. Finally, you stop identifying with your body in the same way. You still care for it. You still nourish it and rest it and treat it with respect, but you no longer believe you are it. You see it as the temporary vehicle for consciousness, the instrument through which awareness experiences this particular human life. And when it eventually stops functioning, you know that you will continue, because what you are was never confined to this form. And something beautiful begins to happen during this time, something that most people who are still gripped by fear cannot understand. You become more present than you have ever been, because when you are no longer trying to escape death, you are no longer trying to escape this moment. Most people are unconsciously running from the present. They are planning the future, analyzing the past, doing anything to avoid being here now. Because here now reminds them that time is passing, that they are moving closer to their end, that this moment will never come again. But you have realized something they have not realized yet. This moment is all there is. This moment is where life actually exists. Not in some imagined future where you finally feel safe. Not in some remembered past where things were better. Right here, right now, in this breath, in this sensation, in this experience of being aware. And when you stop running from death, you stop running from life. You become intimate with existence in a way you never were before. Colors seem brighter. Sounds seem richer. The simplest experiences become profound. A cup of tea, a conversation with a friend, the feeling of sunlight on your skin. These things that you used to take for granted, while you worried about tomorrow, they become absolutely sacred, because you realize they are not separate from you. They are you. They are consciousness experiencing itself in infinite forms. And you also become still, deeply, profoundly still. Not the stillness of suppression or withdrawal, but the stillness of someone who has nothing to defend, nothing to prove, nothing to become. You are already what you are. You have always been what you are. You will always be what you are. So the frantic energy that drives most human behavior just dissolves. The need to achieve, to accumulate, to make your mark before you die. All of it falls away, not because you become lazy or passive, but because you realize that what you are seeking through all of that achievement is already here. already present, already whole. You do not need to earn your existence. You do not need to justify your being here. You simply are, and that is enough. During this time, you may appear strange to others. They may think you have given up. They may worry about you. They may try to motivate you back into the race, back into the struggle to matter before you disappear. But you cannot go back. You have tasted something too real. You have touched something too true. And all their concerns sound like the worries of people still trapped in a dream. You love them, you have compassion for them, but you cannot join them in their nightmare anymore. Now, let me tell you what happens when the fear of death leaves, because this is important. Most people think that without fear you become careless, that you need the terror of death to motivate you to live well, to take care of yourself, to make meaningful choices. But this is not true at all. What actually happens is that a different kind of care emerges. A care that does not come from fear, but from love, from deep appreciation, from profound gratitude for this temporary human experience. You begin to see your life not as something you must protect, but as something you have been given to explore. A gift, an opportunity, a brief and precious chance to experience what it is like to be a human being in a physical body on this particular planet at this particular time. And this changes everything. When you were afraid of death, you were always trying to hold on, trying to grasp, trying to make things permanent. But now you understand that impermanence is not the problem. Impermanence is the nature of form. Everything that appears must disappear. Every wave must return to the ocean. Every breath must be released. This is not tragic. This is simply how manifestation works. And when you truly accept this, when you stop fighting against the fundamental nature of existence, a tremendous peace descends. You stop trying to freeze moments. You stop trying to make relationships last forever. You stop trying to build monuments to yourself that will outlive your body. Instead, you become like water, flowing, adapting, allowing, moving with life instead of against it. And paradoxically, this is when you truly begin to contribute, not from the desperate need to leave your mark, not from the fear that you will be forgotten, but from the natural overflow of being deeply connected to the source of all things. You create because creation flows through you. You love because love is what you are. You serve because service is the natural expression of understanding that there is no separation between you and anyone else. When you were afraid of death, all your actions had a hidden agenda. Stay safe, be remembered, matter, prove you existed. But now your actions are clean, pure, free from that underlying desperation. You do what you do because it is what is arising to be done in this moment, nothing more, nothing less. And here is what I need you to understand. Eventually you do return to the world. You do not stay in this deep inner stillness forever. You come back to participate in human life, to engage with people, to work and create and relate. But you return different, fundamentally, irrevocably different. You become what I call a transparent person, someone who is here but not lost in being here, someone who participates fully in life while simultaneously knowing that none of it is ultimately real in the way people think it is. You can have conversations about ordinary things. You can plan for the future. You can care about your health and your relationships and your work. But there is always this background awareness, this quiet knowing that you are the space in which all of this is happening, the consciousness that is watching the whole dance unfold. And death is simply part of that dance. So you can talk about it when it arises. You can make practical arrangements. You can comfort people who are afraid. But you are no longer gripped by it. You are no longer controlled by it. You are present but not absorbed, engaged but not identified, alive but not attached. And people sense this about you. They may not understand it. They may not be able to articulate what is different, but they feel it. There is a quality of freedom in your presence, that makes them uncomfortable or deeply peaceful, depending on where they are in their own journey. Some will be drawn to you because your energy reminds them of something they have forgotten, something ancient and true that lives underneath all their fear. Others will avoid you because your lack of fear triggers their own terror. It holds up a mirror to the prison they are living in, and they are not ready to see that yet. But you never return to the old fear. You never go back to believing that death is the enemy. You never again mistake yourself for the temporary wave instead of the eternal ocean. Once you have seen what you truly are, once you have remembered your own nature, you cannot forget it. The knowledge is permanent. The awakening is irreversible. You are home and you know it. So if you are feeling the pull toward this understanding, if you have been sensing that your fear of death is loosening its grip, if you find yourself strangely calm when you contemplate your own mortality, if the frantic energy around avoiding death feels exhausting to you now, then listen to that pull. Do not dismiss it. Do not think there is something wrong with you. This is not apathy. This is not depression. This is not giving up on life. This is your soul calling you home. This is consciousness remembering itself. This is the deepest awakening available to a human being. Do not fight it. Do not feel guilty about it. Do not try to force yourself back into the fear just because everyone around you is still terrified. Give yourself permission to see what you see. Give yourself permission to know what you know. Give yourself permission to be free from the terror that has controlled humanity for thousands of years. This is not permanent isolation. You will return. You will engage with the world again, but you will do so as someone who has died before dying, as someone who has faced the ultimate fear and discovered there was nothing there, as someone who knows, without a shadow of doubt, that what you are cannot be destroyed. And when you return, you will be exactly what this world needs. Not another person frantically trying to matter before they disappear, not another person building monuments to themselves out of terror, but someone who has touched eternity, someone who carries the peace of the deathless within them, someone who can look into the eyes of another human being and silently communicate the truth. You are not what you think you are. You are so much more. In the meantime, use this time well. Sit with the silence. Feel the presence that you are. Watch your thoughts arise and dissolve like clouds in the sky. Notice the awareness that remains constant through every experience. Recognize yourself as that awareness, not as the content appearing within it, but as the space itself. The world does not need more people who are afraid. The world needs people who have seen through the fear, who have awakened from the nightmare of separation, who can live fully and love deeply without the constant background terror of their own ending. And this must happen one person at a time, one awakening at a time, one moment of recognition at a time. So let yourself go, or rather, let go of what you thought you were. Let go of the small, frightened self that believes it was born and will die. Let go of the identity you have been defending your entire life. Withdraw from the collective fear without guilt. Rest in your true nature without apology. Be still in the face of death without anxiety. This is the ancient path, the path that mystics and sages have walked for millennia, the path that Buddha pointed to when he said, "There is no self," the path that Jesus hinted at when he said you must die to be reborn, the path that Alan Watts illuminated when he explained that you are not a stranger in the universe, but the universe itself, experiencing what it is like to be you. You are like a seed that must disappear into the dark earth before it can emerge as something new. You are like a caterpillar that must dissolve completely in the cocoon before wings can form. This death before death is necessary. This surrender of the false self is essential. This recognition of your true nature is the whole point. So do not resist it. Do not fear it. Do not apologize for it. This is not the end of your life. This is the beginning of actually living. This is not abandoning the world. This is finally showing up as what you truly are. You are not running away from death. You are awakening from the dream that you could die in the first place. And once you awaken, everything changes. Not out there, but in here, in the only place that anything has ever truly happened, in consciousness itself. Welcome home.